Hi everybody. A few people have asked me to put my skirt making workshop on YouTube, so here it is. This is a demo on how to make a skirt like this that will twirl like this. You can have it this short or you can have it a little bit longer, but not much longer than this. It twirls beautifully. It's bigger than a circle. It's a double circle skirt, and here's how you do it. So I'm going to remake this section because the pink and the black video, when I was cutting that out, it disappeared. So pretend this is pink and black. So I'm going to cut the short skirt out of the blue and the black. For both skirts, you'll need to get material that's 54, 55 to 60 inches wide at least. No 45 inches, it won't work. And you'll need 2.5 yards for the short skirt and 3 yards for the longer skirt. That's 2.5 if you want it to be about 20 inches and 3 yards if you want it to be more below the knee. So I'm taking this one, it's going to be the short skirt, and I'm cutting it. I'm folding this in half, and I'm going to cut it in 2 pieces that are equal. So you take 2 and you quarter the pieces of material so it lays out flat. This one's quartered already, and the ends match up exactly. And you make sure there are no bubbles and it's all laid out flat. And you take your measuring tape and you measure down 2 inches from the corner and mark it with a pin. And then 2 inches from this corner and mark it with a pin. And then from the very tip, you'll mark the middle. This will become your waistline, waistband, where your waistband goes. And then you cut out. It seems very small, but don't worry, because it's only an 1/8, right? You have 2 circles, and it stretches. It'll be plenty for your waist. You're going to take that out. And then you're going to take your measuring tape, and this shorter side dictates how long your skirt can be. So you're going to measure from the waistline to the bottom. This one's 21. That's the longest I can go. So I'll go ahead and make it 21. And it starts 21 there, and then I move the measuring tape to another part of the waistband, and I mark out 21 inches. And I do that all the way around, from the waistband to 21. I mark it going very carefully, making sure that it's always exactly from the waistband down, and I'm moving it each time and marking the 21 inches. So now it's all 21. This one's 21, but I'll go ahead and pin it together here. And then, making sure it's all flat, you go ahead and cut it out. I cut it at the bottom of the pins. And aim for the pin that you're going toward, and that will be your 21 inches. So cut all the way to the top. I'm going to cut off that extra so it's all together 21. Laid out the second one. I've quartered it and I folded it, and I've taken the first one without taking the pins out, and I've laid it on top to become the pattern for the second one. So now the pins are still there. It's already cut out. I'm going to use this as my pattern to cut out the second circle. And if it's not totally exact, it's not going to show. I guarantee it. I've made so many of these. Yeah. So we're taking this all the way out to the 21 on this one. We're going to take out the waist on this one too to match this. And then we're going to take the pins out in a second, but this is the thing that you do next. You've got both your circles here. So there's one circle and then the second one. You're going to take the first circle and you're going to split open one of the folds. Just one. Just one of the circle folds you cut it open. And then you do it to the other circle. You split one fold, not both, just one. So I've split open one circle and it looks like this. It's one circle, it's split open, and I'll take the other one and I've split it open. And then you lay them on top of each other, right sides together, and you'll create a seam for both. You'll bring those two together and create a seam there, and then create a seam on the other side. So with the second longer skirt, I want to demonstrate again how we cut it out, just to make sure that it all made sense the first time. So I went down 2 inches from the corner and I created my waistband. And now this time I have more material because I bought 3 yards instead of 2.5. So I can go as big as 24 inches, which will take me from my waist to 24, which is below the knee, like 3 inches below the knee. So now I'm going to mark that from the waist to 24 inches. I will take pins and I will mark where 24 is all the way around. So I'm making the longer skirt here. I've gone from the waist to the bottom of the hem, and all the way around is 24 inches instead of 20, so it'll hit below the knee. At this point, I've got them both cut out, but they don't have the fold on one side split. So I need to take one circle and split it at the fold so that I have an opening and can create the seam when I put the 2 circles together. I need to do both of those, splitting down. Here's one circle, and then I found the other seam or the other fold, and the full circle needs to be split so that I can put the 2 together. Now I have one circle here. Oh my gosh, this is good. So there are 2 circles now coming together. You've split open the side of each one and you're putting them together where they're split. So you'll make 2 seams only, one on either side. If you have a serger, all the better. You don't need a serger though. You can just stitch. Lycra doesn't fray because it's just plastic. So you can just stitch it or finish it off with a serger. So I start at the top, and as I go, you can pin it. I don't usually pin, but you can, of course. As I go, I make sure that the bottom is matching up as I go so that you don't have an uneven side seam. So now you have a full, see that big hole right there? That's awesome because it's like little tiny on the cutting board. It's big. As long as it goes over without the elastic, it's good. You don't have to make it any bigger. This one's actually bigger than I usually make it. And then I'm going to put elastic around there and it'll be a double circle. So the next thing I do is I have put the waistband on this one. I'm going to show you how to put the waistband on this one, just to show you that the serged edge is behind the elastic, and I have put the elastic on so that it covers up any uneven qualities to that attaching, and I'll show you how to put the waistband on. Here we have the skirt ready for the waistband. I have serged the top, the finished edge, and I've also serged the hem. I'll show you how to hem later. We're going to find the sides and lay those out. The side seams are here. Take your elastic. I usually get 2.5 inch to 3 inch elastic at the fabric store. I'll put it around my waist and make it a little tight because there's a lot of weight to that skirt. So I figure out how much I need just by putting it around my waist, cutting a piece, and then I'm going to put in a flat felled seam. A flat felled seam is where you take the 2 ends and put one slightly shorter than the other so that they're not exactly matched up. One is less, about 1/4 inch or so less, and they're not matched up. And then I'm going to stitch close to the end edge of that shorter side and lock it in place. And then I take the longer edge, the shorter edge. I'll take the longer edge and I'll turn it under and put it flat and stitch that. That's a flat felled seam. And you can see how to do that more on YouTube, I'm sure. And now I have a finished off seam. Both sides are finished. It doesn't matter which side you use. You can see it pretty much the same. I just have to trim off the threads. And then I take it over to my skirt. I can trim off the threads later. And I will match up with my skirt, my waistband. So, put the back in the middle, in the back, and I take the seam and take it to the side of my elastic, and I will pin it there. Take the other side of my elastic and the side of the skirt where the seam is and pin it there. I will take the back, figure out where the middle of this back of the skirt is, and then take my seam and pin that in place. And then I figure out the front of the elastic and an effect where you've got the elastic is shorter and you've got some scoop effect there. I usually check to see if they're about even. If they're not quite even, it's no big deal. Then I come over here and I put the back in first and I lock it into place with a stitch, making sure that the finished edge is above where I'm stitching here. And then I will pull this as I stitch and I make sure that the finished edge is above where I'm stitching. I'll use the foot of my machine to mark how far in I go. I'm pulling as I sew. I'm pulling the whole thing, Lycra and the elastic, making sure that the Lycra finished edge is underneath where I'm sewing, farther up. Then when I get to the pin, I can remove it. I'm stretching as I go. If you don't stretch as you go, your threads will pop and you'll lose your waistband, and that could be pretty embarrassing. So I'm pulling as I stitch. I am making sure that my finished edge is up above where I'm stitching. And I'm pulling, continually pulling, and then removing the pin and continuing on. I'm pulling with my hand as I'm stitching. I'm pulling the whole thing and stitching, using the foot as my marker so that it stays even. And it's not rocket science. It doesn't matter if it's exact. You just pull as you stitch. Pull as you stitch. And I think I have managed to catch the skirt in with my stitching, and I hope so. I'll take it off the machine. If it's not exactly matched up on the back side, it's okay. See, even that would be fine. So it's all caught in with the stitching. Some is closer than others, and that's fine. It doesn't really show, because when you have the elastic and where you've sewn is basically the same because of the foot, then it all comes out beautifully. So now I can put the skirt on. So now we're going to do the last step. I have serged the bottom of my hem, bottom of the skirt. If you don't have a serger, you're going to want to turn it under twice and do a shirt tail like that. But because I serge it, I have less to turn under, and it's a little flatter that way. You don't have to have a serger. You can do it with the regular machine. So I stay pretty close to the edge with it. I turn it over once and I'll back stitch and then put my timer on, because it'll take you about 10 minutes because there's a lot of fabric. Finished short skirt. Okay, and here's the finished long skirt.